What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Immortal Minds. And today's a special episode. We have two special guests. It is a very British episode and a very Team Liquid episode. As you can see, I've got some special Team Liquid swag that Liquid sent me, so I'm very happy about that. Um, it's gonna be. What are you wearing, Mike? What have you got on? You got some stuff
I
as
got
well.
the long sleeve after you couldn't
Nice.
decide for like 30 minutes what shirt you were actually gonna wear, so.
And the green screen's helping me a little bit. But we got Ec1s and Soulcas. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
And I know that we had Sliggy, who he came on our show previously. We know we're pretty, we go way back, and it's awesome to see more success in the British FPS scene. It's been a hot minute since the UK had a great team. I mean, for you guys, like, were you expecting, off the bat, like, were you expecting for things to go this way when Valorant came out? I think a lot of people hadn't heard of your names necessarily, in at least in a tier one capacity. But in Valorant, straight off the bat, you were in there. So can you kind of describe sort of the process of like going from relative obscurity in that sense to being elevated to one of the greatest teams and being coached by one of the most handsome coaches in the business?
I mean, I don't think any of us expected it really. Like we kind of had like a running joke to say, "Oh, we're gonna make it in Valorant and all this kind of stuff." But when it actually happened, it was like, "Wait, that actually happened!" Like none of us like fully believed it. But here we are. It's like just a crazy, crazy world where like you said, we've gone from CS:GO where no one really knows us besides like outside the UK scene, no one really knows us. Now we're on Team Liquid in Valorant and one of like the biggest teams. It's honestly mind blowing.
It's like
Um,
sorry.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, it's because like we kind of had like fundamentals in CS, but we always felt like we were kind of behind to like get to the higher like tiers of the CS:GO scene. We kind of had the aim, but then we knew when we get to Valorant, we like started a fresh slate. Everyone starts from like ground zero, so we knew we can actually, I guess, make something of Valorant. So then that's why we instantly just because our four line, we had Cryptics, Eccles, me, and artists. Our four guys were in CS as a team, as a mix. We were like starting from there, and then we heard about Valorant, and I was like, you know what, let's give this a go when this game comes out. And then we tried it, and just, I don't know, from there, it kind of just went all well. Kind of, it is kind of surprising how well it went, but we're glad we took that step.
Yeah, I feel in a new game, so many things are possible. It's great to see you guys are doing so well. And I'm a terrible host. I needed to mention something off the top of the show. Of course, you guys can see that Sean is not here. He's been obviously going crazy on the stream grind, so he's taking a bit of a break at the moment, and we hopefully will see him back soon. But moving things on in terms of the show. Normally, guys, we talk about like anything that has happened in the let's say in the news, like patches, whatever that might be interesting. And I think in terms of patches, the last patch, a lot of stuff happens, and maybe not what people expected. A lot of people expected Jet to get some attention, let's say, and instead, Breach just got buffed like in such an insane capacity. Viper got buffed again, and Sage got just nerfed into the ground. So, can I get some initial thoughts on all of this from you guys?
I mean, I think the Breach buff was really not needed. Breach was like a really, really strong champion as it was. Like it was rumored before, like a long time ago, saying they're gonna like buff Breach, and we just thought like, what can they actually improve? Like all his abilities are really strong, and now they've given him like free flashes, which is kind of ridiculous, and they've even buffed the ult. Like the ult was fine, but now it's like even stronger. It's like instantly
So
happens. So
scary when it comes at you.
yeah, it's like you can't
So
get out of the
fast.
way of it now, no matter what. So I feel like Breach was like really like a fine agent, but now obviously it's like I think one of the most strongest
I,
agents in the game.
I think it's like,
Sage,
sorry, wait. I guess like with the it's kind of like a direct like response or like an indirect response to the AWPs, because everyone's complaining about the operator meta and saying how it's kind of just broken. There's not much utility in the game. So I guess this is their kind of their way of battling it without actually changing the numbers for the AWP, like the scope speed or movement speed, anything like that. Because they said they're, I don't think they're gonna really change much with the sniper, but I think yeah, it's just that they added another flash to help teams, push back the AWPer.
What changes would you have liked to have seen? Because again, Jet was the thing that everyone was expecting to get nerfed because the whole complaint around the operators tends to be exacerbated by Jet's
Yeah.
abilities. So, I mean, what did you want to see?
Obviously a jet nerf in some
Yeah.
way. Like I think one of the things that is like a small step in the right direction is that you have to pay for her dash. I think it should be like a pretty expensive ability. I think it should be like 400 or something. Like you have to like pay for each round because it basically gives you like a free life in a way. So say if you're like an operator, you take an angle, you miss, then you can just jet away, and you have like one free shot per round. And like if you give like a good professional AWPer one free shot per round, like in every single round, it has a lot of impact. And I think having it for free at the moment that charges every round is like kind of ridiculous in that way, especially like on the attacking side, like dashing into sites causes so much chaos, and it's a free ability. I think that's just one thing that they should like change straight away.
I feel like there's a few like ideas I've thought about with Jet and I've seen on Twitter's, like maybe have it so you have to get a kill before you can dash away, because it's like you've just got like a free get out of jail card, so even if you miss, you can't be punished for just like missing your shot, or even have it as just an offensive ability so you can only dash where you're looking instead of just dashing to the side instantly after missing a shot. And then also I feel like the most broken part actually right now is like her ultimate. Like I feel like her right clicks are way too strong, and I feel like you should probably only have your ult reset after maybe one kill with the right click, and then with your left clicks you can just, if you kill someone, you can get it instantly refreshed again. But with the right click, it's probably a bit too strong to have it constantly refresh after every kill, because it's too hard to play against when you can just jump around full movement speed and just not have any inaccuracy. So I feel like maybe some of those changes might help, like balance her a bit.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It feels it's every I think ability that she has actually feels S tier right now, which is
Even
insane.
a smokes, because you can just have like a constant one way for like 21 seconds, I think, and
Yeah.
every
Yeah,
smoke is
yeah.
like 7 seconds. So having like a one way for that long, it's like that's a bit strong too. So the whole kit's just kind of too broken, I feel.
Yeah, and then poor Sage got absolutely wrecked. Mike was showing some clips there of the kind of before and afters for some of the changes. And I was never personally a huge fan of the heal myself. At least I felt like it shouldn't be more than like one use per round because it's just very hard to predict and kind of understand what you're going up against if you're in the like attack. You don't know where the damage player is, even if maybe there is someone damaged somewhere. But her wall as well just got absolutely wrecked. If you see that going up and it's placed reactively, it you can just destroy it so easily now. So I feel like that was a punish. Like for me, all of the punishes on stage didn't feel necessary at all. It actually felt like she was in a pretty damn good spot. Ultimately, did you guys have the same
Yeah,
opinion on that one?
yeah. I
Yeah, I
feel
feel
like
like it's in a pretty
yeah,
good
go on.
spot. Like, oh, sorry, I like the idea of like the wall that you can't use it reactively anymore. I feel like that's like a really super strong thing. So, say for like example, was a lot of like rounds where you go to burst an area like a late round, and the sage just kept a wall. Like the sage done a good job, kept a wall for the late round, and then that just puts it up and it just blocks you for so long. But now, obviously, if they're putting up reactively, you can break it a lot quicker, and it makes it a lot less strong. So it makes it like a Sage player now has to like kind of gamble, or if they've got info or kind of gamble with the wall, like you got to put it down before people can physically be there for it to be like as strong as it was before. So I do like that change, and I agree with you. The heal is a bit broken. I feel like maybe like once per round, or like you've got to get a kill to use the heal, something like that, because like you can just go peek somewhere, dink someone, and then they can get away, then they're just healed again, and it's like nothing's ever happened. Like you don't get rewarded for like taking an aggressive peek and doing some damage.
She was in a like pretty good state though before this patch, because when we practice against teams, it was kind of a lot of the times we didn't even see a Sage on a lot of the maps, and then sometimes we did, and I feel like it was kind of a good balance. I guess her best map was Split, like as she can be very strong as like small chokeholds, but I, I feel like it's a bit too much like these nerfs. Like in practice, like since the patch, I think we've only seen Sage once, and like was kind of surprised when we saw it, because like she's not really that strong. You've got other characters now to play, like especially like Breach, because I think Breach now is going to be the most picked champ in the pro scene.
it would be mental not to pick Breach right now.
Yeah.
Like, right? It's so insane.
Ec1s is loving it now. It's back to his
Yeah.
beta agent.
Back when I was at my best, just flashing everyone, stunning everywhere, getting map control. Now I've got 3 flashes. I tell you what, we played like a practice the other day, and I was playing A short on Ascent. I peeked out I flashed short, peeked, got a kill, went back in, flashed again, peeked out, got a kill, went back in, flashed out, peeked again, got a kill, and it's just like 3 flashes that are really hard to turn from. It's so broken. Just even like on an individual level on a CT side, you can make so many plays with Breach now, and obviously like the team aspect, you can just rush a site with 3 flashes going behind people, and people can't peek. So I think it's honestly like it has to be a must pick by every single comp.
Yeah, I feel the unscoped thing as well. It feels kind of unnecessary because I feel like if you get caught in the fault line, you don't want to be standing there anyway, and you can't move. Like it just seems kind of weird. I don't know if that's because is it the case that when you were standing in it, you could still shoot accurately if you were scoped with the operator or something? I don't know if
feel like
that was the
it,
case. I haven't tested that.
I feel like it wasn't too hard. It was obviously hard to like kill someone you're stunned as a like a scoped weapon, but I feel like it's more just to like make people happy about the scopes. Oh, there's another like indirect nerf to the operator, so I thought they
Yeah.
like kind of threw it in there to like make people happy.
No, no, I totally agree with that. I thought the same. It's like the stun enough does like it stops an AWP from killing you because they have to get out of the stun. It clears the angle, but like unscopes you as well. It's just kind of like that's not really a change. It's just like, oh look guys, we're working to nerf the operator, but really it doesn't have that much of a difference.
Yeah, speaking of like changes to agents and like trying to find that point of balance. Um, Soulcas, I know you play a lot of Raze. Do you think because a lot of people have I mean, Raze is still really good. Her utility is amazing. The movement options are amazing, and I think it's really the ult that people are kind of scratching their heads about now because it feels like it's very difficult to get a kill with it because of a variety of the changes that were made to her ult. And it seems like there just needs to be like an adaptation still. Do you think that it does it put you off of Raze at all the way that the ult is now?
Or well, like the delay and stuff to it.
Yeah, it's like in
Yeah,
pro matches, we rarely see like the same amount of direct damage in terms of kills, like clearing spots and stuff, sure, but other than that, less kills.
there's been like ever since they changed that, I've complained about it so many times in practice. Like I pulled it out, and it seems like I can shoot, but I just can't. So like I
Yes,
jump
as
up
well.
behind sight, I'm just floating in the air, and I still can't shoot. But I feel like it is actually quite hard to get kills right now. It's more of kind of like you have to use it first, wait for a bit, and then I guess it's just more to like open up the site because when someone hears a Raze ult, everyone's gonna run away. So it's more of just like to make space right now rather than to actually get a kill with it. Because yeah, it's really hard to get kills without getting shot in the air or just you're floating in the air without being able to shoot the gun.
I feel like
So
it's less reactive now as well. Like you have to like plan it out more because obviously like the delay now. You can't just
yeah,
go, oh, I'm gonna go all into sight. Like you're jumping in the air, then some guys all up in like CT or something and kills you.
yeah, especially if
Which
you're
is
getting like bursted on. Like it can't. It's kind of you need a lot more time to pull out your ult and then to like try and kill them. Yeah, it's kind of a it's a strong nerf I feel.
Yeah, Mike, I don't think I've ever really got your opinions on the whether the Raze ult is in a good place now, or
I think like on defender side especially, you're seeing a lot more people instead of like before is like, oh, I know someone's in hookah or whatever and I'm backside bind, I can pop up instantly and kill them. It's more like I have to play spawn and then I pop it behind the wall and spawn and then I wait like a second and then peek out. It feels like you have to try to bait out people into the site. Like you have to have them in a pretty decent position and then that extra time kind of screws you over. So you have to play more defensively, I guess, with it.
yeah, I feel like it'd be interesting to see how all the pros like adapt to it because I feel like there is a lot of utility to it still in what you can do with it. But as you're all saying, like planning is required. So because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, she's trash now just because you can't get kills with the ult. Yet her utility is still so very good across the board. So I like from my expectation, I'm not expecting to see her picked all that much less at all because of this change. Do you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, I feel the same. Obviously it kind of as at times it's like man, this just doesn't feel like good to use her ult anymore because it's just a lot of time you're just sitting there like a sitting duck with your ult. But I feel like I feel like she's still gonna get picked quite a lot. You know, Zipan from FPX, like I feel like he's never not gonna pick Raze. But yeah, I feel like she's still gonna be picked the same amount.
Yeah, the utility, like the nade itself, the bot is so strong still. So, like I said, I don't think people like switch off it. They just have to change how they plan their ults. It's a small change, but I think it's quite powerful because I think, especially in ranked games and stuff like that, I think it'd be like a lot more effective there, like the change to pro games. But yeah, I wouldn't imagine that much of a difference in it.
I was thinking about this quite a bit because the community can be really reactive to changes, and with the Raise one, I had a lot of people saying that, oh, Raise is kind of trash, and then after seeing the latest update, where because some of Raise's utility kind of is the same type of idea as Breach, and the reason why I guess people were favoring Raise over maybe a pick on Breach or something else is because the abilities on Raze, especially with the ult, are just they're just very. She's just amazingly versatile, and she's just great at clearing stuff. But also, let's say, unlike a Sova who can also like clear stuff with the drone and so on instead of the boombot, Sova's not going to be going in. And Raze is such a great duelist for just like getting in there and creating space. But Breach does all of those things as well. And now that Breach has like just another flash and all of his abilities are just basically better, I was starting to think like, actually, is there a world where people will come off the race possibly to just throw the breach into their lineups or something like that? Because I still don't. I mean, Jet didn't get touched, so the Jet operator meta still feels like it will be in effect, at least in North America, where it's very popular. Um, how have you guys been seeing sort of some of the changes? Have people been really reactive, or is it just like is people just popping in breach? But if so, what are they changing for breach most of the time? From what you're seeing.
I think it's very varied, to be honest. We've backed like a few teams, and I think that's what everyone is trying to like work out now. Like, how do we get Breach into this lineup and still be pretty strong? So with us, obviously we're experimenting with like a few things. Can't say which agents pulling in, pulling out because we have future events coming up, and like but yeah, I think Breach is a must pick, so people have to just decide what works best for their team and like develop like a play style around having a Breach instead of like a different agent. So before, if like you had like a Silver or something, you think, oh, okay, now we need a Breach, take that out. It's like a different play style. So I think it will vary the comps a lot more, which I guess is something that Riot wants because Breach is like a must pick, and like all these other champs were a must pick before. So now it's like it will just be, I think, very team dependent of who people swap out, and it won't be like a set comp that a lot of pro teams run anymore.
Yeah, well, speaking of like the comps and stuff like that, have you do you guys ever look to like North America for inspiration or something when you're like looking at the games, or what are your thoughts when you are looking at NA? Because there's definitely like a pretty big difference in terms of how the two regions like EU and NA are playing in general, and even team to team, like there are some teams in I feel like there are more instances of more structured teams in Europe from in some regards, but there's also still like a lot of puggy teams. So maybe I'm sort of exaggerating the difference. Like, how do you guys look at it?
Definitely look into NA a lot because obviously the Flashpoint event very recently, so we look to them, and especially with Killjoy because we were late to the Killjoy meta. So seeing like how they use Killjoy is like, okay, right, these are actually really good fundamentals that they've developed already, and that's something like we can take and like put our spin on it or just straight up copy some of their setups really because NA have like seemed really good, like they seem really structured compared to the start, and I feel like a lot of people in Europe have like this like moral high ground that oh EU's better than NA, but watching NA recently, they're really impressed and like they have really solid stuff that they're using right now.
I like the way they use Killjoy, so like they can have like the bot and they just play off with like a flash, or like they have a lot of mini, I guess you could say, plays with their like two or three people and their specific agents, and it can be creative like a lot of the time how they do it, and it's really cool to see how they play and then compared to how the EU plays it, and it's yeah, some things are pretty good not to take or like just put our spin on it. Like I really like the way NA are playing right now. It's really fun to watch as well. With like even like how broken Jet is. It's kind of just fun seeing it, but it's not fun playing against it.
So I mean, I got to get your take. Is EU better or NA better?
I'd say it's quite even right now. I think it's
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know.
Can't be on
I
the
actually don't
fence.
know.
uh,
Like
I don't know.
at the start, I feel like EU would be a lot stronger, but then the more I've seen like NA play, the more like I feel like they're getting like really creative with how they play certain like agents. I think it's I don't know. It's actually really hard to tell. Like I honestly have no idea. It could go one way. Like it could go really like towards EU favored or really towards NA. No idea. No idea.
Yeah, I know, Mike. Speaking of like Killjoy and so on, like you had a lot of like thoughts on Killjoy and her potential and like her perception in terms of her strengths and how she's being used right now. Like do you think what do you think in terms of her strength? Because I know you've shared it with me, but I don't know if you shared it on the show properly.
So at Popflash, there was like some things I thought teams were doing kind of weird. Like Dom said, I really liked Envy ran the setup on Haven Short A where they would place like the turret or an alarm bot at the top of the Short A ramp, and then Phoenix would be playing down in short, and then he would flash off that contact. That's like a really smart little like micro play you can make. But I felt like, especially with the mollies, they weren't fully utilized as much as they could have been because a lot of teams were kind of didn't have lineups or just kind of throwing them on the fly or throwing them reactively. Where I think the future is like if you have a lot of lineups to clear out spots, especially on the attacking side, people are going to have a hard time using the same argument of, oh, she's totally like weak on attacking side. I think also like ult placements during Pop Flash were like really sick when teams were coordinating different things with that, especially on like Ascent. We saw a lot of cool ults towards mid and B main towards the B site.
Yeah, I definitely like the mid one on Ascent. It's something with like, whoa, okay, this is kind of different to how we've seen it in Europe so far. Like we looked at that and thought, okay, right, let's theorycraft what we can do around Missile, and it seems honestly really, really strong because it's in a really defensive position in middle. Like you can say set up like the Killjoy mollies to protect it. Then like obviously you can split market, split short. You have all these like potentials. And yeah, I don't know. NA have like some really creative minds, and I'm really impressed, especially from Envy. I think FNS is doing like a really good job over there.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, me and Mike, we did like a demo review just a couple days ago. We're both just saying to each other how impressed we are with FNS, and I think on the cast as well. I think it said something along the lines of if FNS like showed this, like level of like aptitude in CS, maybe we'd still be seeing him playing CS because I know that he struggled towards the later periods, but. It's interesting seeing how him in particular on Cypher, it just seems to fit his way of thinking so much. Like I think his cipher play just consistently impresses me, and also just looking at the way that for example, in the game Mike was talking about as well, or one of the games against C9, like the defaulting from Envy was really good, like really good, and there was no like C9 was struggling to find ways to get pressure on Ascent, and interestingly, we referenced, I think you guys, because we did a review of you guys with your gelato takes. And this is something we didn't really see from North America on Ascent at all. There was all this kind of battling over a main, which seems kind of useless in many respects because it's so easy to retake if you're the attackers. So, in terms of like seeing some of the differences in strategy on maps and so on, like that to me seems like a really big difference. Um, do you guys see other differences when you're watching NA games? You're like, in Europe, this seems standard, but in like all the scrims and stuff that we're playing, but we're not seeing it in NA. Is there anything like that that comes to mind?
Yeah, teams are aggro as. Oh, can I swear?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Aggro as fuck, bro. On defense, on Ascent, it's like every single round, a team's doing like some insane B push, or doing like an A push, doing like a mid push. Whereas, like I was watching like Cloud9 versus MV. If I remember correctly, Cloud9 were very defensive on the defense side. Whereas, like we've like, whoa, what's this? Like we've never seen this before. It's just a constant pressure in Europe compared to, and it seems a little bit more relaxed. That's like one of the biggest differences I've noticed so far, anyway.
Yeah, that's definitely something that me and Michael pointing out. It's like C9 not doing anything to throw them off of the default. They're just letting them kind of run it every single round, which definitely is not going to work out. Yeah, I said it's like an interesting map though, because it seems like, especially in NA, people really don't want to play mid. Like as defenders, like they really don't want to, and I can kind of get it because of how many. It's just so open. There's like a lot of different. There's this elevation changes as well. It's just very awkward. Is it something that you guys had to put a lot of thought into, like yourselves, in terms of like finding solutions of like how to pressure that area of the map?
So yeah, Sliggy's helped us a lot with that kind of thing. I think when the map first came out, like the first few days I was practicing, it was like, boys, don't fight for mid. It's useless to have as a defender, which is kind of true in a way. Like you don't really gain much from it, and it makes your like sights weaker. But I think you do need to show some pressure there some rounds because obviously, if not, then the team are just gonna like default into you and like you lose a round. So I think it's just about changing up for what you do in middle, really. And it's
Yeah.
not too much really you can do right now. We have some set plays like on Omen and like Reina that we used to do, but now it's obviously just still evolving different champs, different stuff like this. We'll find a way to pressure it.
I feel like on Ascent, like bursts are very strong on the attacking side. So sometimes when you put a lot of manpower to take in mid as a defender, you're making your other sides very like weak, and then just these bursts are very strong when you can combine certain abilities together. It can be very hard to take. So a lot of the time, it's probably just best to even play a stack on one side and retake the other side because yeah, can be really strong and overwhelming if you're just like one or two guys there.
I think as well, like on Ascent, you'll see like a lot of teams, like you're saying, that aren't really playing mid much, so leaving like a Trip or maybe a Cypher Cam and Pizza or something like that, or Market. Except then when they're like stacking a site, like you say, they don't really realize when you have that lack of information in mid and you're giving it to them, you need information on the opposite ends of the map. So like Cloud9 were giving up mid pretty consistently, like on Ascent every game. But then on the
Yeah.
opposite sides of the map, they weren't necessarily like fighting for Gelato or B main or anything like that. So I think it's
Yeah,
a bit of a healthy balance.
yeah, you need to have some sort of control on that map because if you just give everything up, then it's really hard to play. Like you have to fight somewhere and be proactive as a defender. I feel on that map.
Okay, so do you think that to help that, Viper could be a good answer? Because I feel like the Viper meta, I feel like it has to happen at some point.
I
They also
remember
keep buffing her, and she's mad. She's so
I
good.
remember when I think Viper got like a big buff. I can't remember which patch and like what the exact changes. But I remember when Sligger was like, "Boys, I've got a broken strat that we can run 24/7 that we won't lose a single round on Ascent." And it was just something to do with like the Viper wall, and we never properly tried it. I mean, it could be a thing. I don't actually know because we haven't seen anyone play Viper on Ascent. Um, so I don't know how it would work. I mean, it might be good. You know, it could be something that someone plays it, and other teams be like, "Oh shit, like this is actually pretty good," and then it could become the meta. But I haven't seen anyone actually try it and succeed.
The only map I've seen it work on well is Split. Safe and Bonk. He does a really good job because he has like a lurk B wall that always causes like a lot of problems where he can just sneak into the front of B on Split, and obviously then he can like lurk through it or just denies info, which causes a lot of problems. Obviously on the defense side on middle, the smoke, because the smoke comes up really quick. It's like having a smoke there almost all the time, and it only blocks like the right side of middle. So it kind of like halves the size of middle that you can like go through, so you're all stuck on like the left side, and it makes it like really easy to defend. So that's the only place where I've seen like Vipers. Okay, yeah, it's viable, but for Ascent, it might be a little bit harder just because like of how the map's played out. Like mid control is not that much of a thing, and a lot of it is bursting. So yeah, I think it would take like someone to really try Viper for a long time to figure out like the best solutions for it on Ascent.
Yeah, I feel like because I was playing against Viper the other day, and the when you go through the toxic screen, like the decay lasts quite a while actually. If you like, just walk through it, and it actually feels like, again, it feels like she should be super sick. Honestly, it really does. I feel like there's a lot of people haven't, as you say, like figured out how to use her and all of the use cases for her yet. But we need to see some specialists. But I guess it's pretty hard at the top level too, because it feels like you have to be pretty light on your feet in terms of all of the agents that will get added into the game, and you want to stay competitive and with what's working. So it's like it's always like a risk investing time in something that's not proven. But speaking of the amount of agents that are coming into the game, I feel like this kind of changes the skill sets a little bit compared to being a CS player, where being a CS player, the game is simple. The maps are always going to stay the same pretty much. It's just about being a really good CS player in your role and just having great chemistry and team play and so on. But in this game, you're gonna have to be smart. You're gonna have to like spend a lot of time like learning stuff and being able to be flexible. Because are you guys thinking about that? Are you thinking about maybe a world where there's a draft and each of you needs to have the ability to play multiple agents?
I can
Don't hear
tell you
the end of
Sliggy's
this one,
thinking
Sliggy.
years ahead, bro,
Nice.
already for like agent picks and stuff like this. He's in the future already. But yeah,
Yeah, like
oh, go on, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say like he doesn't want any of us to be like one tricks because if there can be a time where there'll be a draft phase and obviously if you just get target banned then who you're gonna play. So it's always good to have a variety of agents. Sliggy's always been saying, boys, there's gonna be a draft like soon. I don't know how soon. I don't think it's gonna be within like a year or so. Like you're gonna need a lot of agents to have some sort of a draft phase. But Sliggy thinks it's coming very soon. I don't know.
Yeah, how is it like playing under Sliggy? Actually, I've known him for a long time, and he's awesome. He's just such an awesome laid back guy to hang out with. So, but I don't know how he is. I don't know how Coach Sliggy is. So, is Coach Sliggy a stickler for the rules? Is he strict but fair? Like how is Coach Sliggy?
Yeah, I'd say strict but fair. Like one of the things that I did like about Sliggy, especially towards the start, where I noticed like when we started, using him, is like he's very like hands off, like in games where he lets us make our mistakes, and he's like, then after he will say, okay, you should do this, 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 and that. And one thing, which is new for me, probably shows like how like coaches have been in the past have been. He never gets angry, which is something new to me. But like coaches in the past, like we'd be playing and they'd get angry, and I'd be like, "This is just not going to help." So I like he's always cool, calm, collected. Helps out a lot. Obviously, he's got like an insane mind for the game. He's like an innovator in his own right. He did that with cast or not casting, observing. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I think he's a perfect fit for us, really.
Got great work ethic and he's finding lineups late into the night, like really creative lineups that um you see other teams use. Remember him mentioning, I think once on here, like he found like a few lineups on split, and then a few days later we practiced against that team and they used like our lineups. So he finds a lot of like unique and really like effective lineups for us, which is really helpful as well because there's a lot of things you can do in this game, and I guess it's just a playground for our coach, for like all these abilities and different combos you can make. And he's really like motivated to finding new things and I guess you can say breaking the meta. Like he's really like motivated to do something new.
Yeah, he's like from my past experience with him too, like as this is the Siggy appreciation part of the show. It was always amazing because he never needed like when he was doing the observing and stuff like that. I would say like he probably had the best understanding of the game of all of the observers. I think it's just for a variety of reasons. But on top of that, like and he could do really good observing, but on top of that, he always wanted to make it better, and there was like no incentive at all for him to do that and to put in all of the extra work to try to figure that out. But he just decided to do that because he thought that was the right thing for him to do to honor his passion for just for doing great observing. So yeah, it's really good to hear that, and it sounds like everything's working really really nicely. Speaking of which, actually, you guys added Scream towards the end, and before you guys signed with Liquid, you're playing with him a bunch and so on, and I've been super impressed by Scream. I didn't actually think that he was going to be able to be anything but a one trick moving into Valorant. And he's got such a history. His the end of his career didn't go super well in CS in terms of sort of the heights that he had reached, and it felt like he kind of got phased out a little bit. And he became more of like a social media guy, streamer, and so on and so forth. But when I've been watching him now, it feels like he really gets the game. Like he really gets it. And I'm very impressed. Like how has it been playing with someone that is not British and is Belgian, but and how's his presence not been like on the team?
Obviously, like he has like a bunch of experience that helps us out. So like I had this like perception of Scream, oh, he's the one tap machine, like he only kills people. But like playing with him, like he brings in ideas, like he uses the experience, like calm us down. Let's say, hey boys, like we should do this. Like he helps us so much more than obviously like killing people. It helps us a lot deeper. With agents as well, he's always willing to try agents. Obviously, Sliggy likes innovating or trying new stuff, and he's like always down for it. Like he never complains like, oh, I don't get to play this, I have to play this. Like he's always up for it. So yeah, honestly, it's been really great playing with him. Like he's such like a nice guy. He brings up the mood. He always like pumps us up, stays positive. So yeah, he's amazing to play with.
Such a great like team asset, and he's never like, oh, from the outside probably everyone thinks, oh, he just wants to play Reyna and Reyna only, but he's also really open to trying other agents and to be like the best fit for the team. He's not just thinking about himself. He's really like thinking what is best for the team. And he brings like such a great environment. He's so funny. Like he doesn't really rage, he doesn't moan, he's very just like calm, gives the good calls. And it's great having him on our team.
Yeah, me and Mike were watching a game you guys played on Binds, and I think we were focusing on your defense actually. And we were looking at the game, and it just kept coming up over and over again how awesome Scream was on Sage. And again, like you say, it's super easy for people to be like, oh, why is Scream not on a duel list of any kind? Because his aim is so good and he's a fragger and so on and so forth. But he was just making a lot of great decisions, which just showed that he understands the game really well and wasn't playing Sage in a way which is just like, oh, this is the way that you're supposed to play Sage. It was he was using the utility of Sage in the most appropriate ways for the way the match was going and doing it all dynamically on the fly. And that looked awesome to watch. And he was a huge focus when we were watching that demo, and we didn't think that that was going to be the case going in necessarily, but just that's how it turned out. So I mean, I know that you kind of echo some of my sentiments, Mike. Do you have anything else that Scream has impressed you with?
I was like under the same impression when he first started the game because I think I even said to Sliggy like, why is he not on Duelist more? But then we watched. I think between Breach and Sage, every time I watch him, it's like, oh, I don't see anyone that can, especially in like situations where teams are bursting or executing onto a site. There's very few people that are making very good like under 5 second decisions like he can, especially like in that last demo we watched on both B and A on Bind.
Yeah. Speaking of like Scream and the fact that he's so good and so tenured, it seems like I think it's fair to say that G2 is the best team in Europe at the moment. They've got an incredible record. What is it about G2 that's so good?
I think they're really good at like adapting and like reading situations well. So I feel like they are pretty free flowing, and they have like five really good individuals who all have like a really good understanding of the game and like how the round's gonna play out. It's like a lot of the times where like you would be doing a round and they get like a read on us like Piff would push like B or something like that as a cipher, which is something that we've spoke about and we don't really like expect type thing because if you are a cipher, if you are going to push in a round, sorry, it's probably not best to do it as a cipher because like all his utilities like defensive, like playing for the backside, and say if the cipher pushes, then all the stuff he's put down is kind of useless. So they have like a really good read for the game, I'd say, which like lets them win these rounds. And one thing that I've noticed a lot is David P seems to have the perfect timing for his ult every single time. It's like I watch their game, it's like a 5v2, then someone will overpeak, and David will get a kill, then he's got his res, and it's a 3v4. Then they turn around and win the round. It's just like, ah, it's so frustrating to watch because I feel like a lot of the time they shouldn't win rounds, but they turn it around and they do. So I don't know. They're
Each
just
of each of like their players can just have like a huge round and just multi-frag. If someone dies or they're in a deficit, someone could just go huge and get like a 3K or something like that and pull the round out the bag. I don't know how, but they're just all like good individually, and I feel like they could just cause like mayhem and just unpredictability with like their bursts and how they play the round each time. It can be quite like just hard to play against, which is why I feel like they're quite strong right now.
Is given? I mean, it kind of sounds like they're a team that's like hard to. It's hard to emulate their style because it's just like so much about their players and just their own individual reads of the game. So, are there any other teams in Europe right now that you think are really interesting or up and coming, or like particularly difficult to play against that you guys have had trouble with?
Bonk are really difficult to play against. They have like a weird, like aggressive style. I remember like us practicing them like a lot, and Yassine's like super aggressive, but his aim is just so sick, so he like gets away with it type thing. Obviously, with like Viper as well that he uses, it's like it's awkward to play against because you don't see a Viper that often. So like it gives you new situations that you might not necessarily have the best reactions for on the fly. So like if you like practice against it and like it becomes a more common thing, like people understand what to do more. So I think Bonk are definitely like up and coming. They deserve an org. Like I saw them like tweeting that they were disappointed to not get invited to this rumored next event. But I think they definitely do deserve an org. Like they've been playing really well. They're all like really good individual players. So yeah, I'd say they're the most up and coming team right now.
Think like strat wise and like the way a team like plays Valorant, I think FPX is very impressive as well. Like how they play, just their game style and how Angel like just leads the team. I find like it's very impressive how they do it. There's like a really strong team as well, and it's really like impressive to see how two teams kind of just been formed together from like the best players from two teams have just somehow like come together and become a very very good team. And it's like really impressive the way they play together like off each other. Like they're also really like a good team to watch.
Can I butt in and just say Angel
Go for it.
is unreal at this game. That guy just runs through a smoke, just instantly headshots you. I saw him do it versus G2 as well. That guy has no fear of smokes, runs through
Yeah,
and kills people. It's
like guy with smokes is
amazing.
just not a thing. Like
Yeah.
if he sees a smoke, it's like it's disabled. Honestly, he just runs through it. Doesn't bother him. It's kind of weird. And it just works every time. So like fair play. He probably doesn't think like the smokes in this game are like as strong as Counter Strike because of like Counter Strike. You know, you've got like it's kind of like fogs your screen a bit. This game is just straight.
Yeah.
Like you just walk through and there's no like fades in, fades out type of thing. So I think he kind of uses it at the same time to his like advantage.
I've been getting wrecked by people walking through smokes because
Yeah,
I'm thinking it was like CS and this. Oh my god. Okay, I
it's
won't go into
painful.
that.
It's painful.
I know like Mike likes to play inside of his brim smokes as well.
Oh yeah.
So you got something to say about that, Mike?
Nah, I was gonna say as well though, like you guys mentioned both teams that I was gonna talk about as well, because in NA, no one like really talks about Bonk or FPX, but I think especially FPX is a team that could come to NA and be like most top 5 NA teams, I think at least, because when I saw Angel switch over to this game, I'm like, this guy could do a lot in this game with how smart he is.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. FPX are like really good. They got really good fundamentals. They play as a team well. Obviously, like all insane individuals. They got Zipan, who's just a beast from Fortnite, came out of nowhere. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. The guy's just like incredible aim. I remember playing against him on like Haven in one of our officials, and I just remembered like this guy doesn't miss. Like if he does an insta headshot you, his first 4 bullets of every spray always lands on you. So it's like it's weird playing against him. Like you can't make a mistake like in your aim, if that makes sense, against him because he will always punish you.
So this actually leads me into a question like people like individuals that have been really surprising in the game because obviously going into the game everyone was thinking okay well of course people that have the understanding of CS in macro micro and so on it's gonna definitely translate super well and it does but we're seeing now let's say 6 months after I actually don't even know how many months we're after launch now but not that long it's just like half a year or less we're seeing a lot of players coming from different games actually being really sick and when you guys like watching like let's say Sentinels and you're seeing Sinatra, it's hard. It feels like hard not to think that Sinatra's like the best player in the game at the moment. Is that like something you guys are thinking of as well? Like you must be dying to play Sentinels.
Yeah, I think us and Sentinels match up really well. Like us, Thumbus Phoenix Sentinels have like a really good style that would like make for a really interesting watch. I think. Obviously, Sinatra at the start. I remember watching their team. I remember I was joining Shazam's stream or something like that, and it was really like close minded of me. But they were like sacking in a ranked game, and they were getting owned. And I was watching Sinatra, and I was like, man, he doesn't look good at this game. But now he literally looks like one of the best players in the world in like such a short space of time. Like it's crazy to see. Like him on Phoenix, like everyone always plays. Like his ability usage is so good. Always seem like he every single time he uses his flash, he gets a kill from it or maybe two. So he just looks sick, man. As the rate of improvement from him is on a fair play to him, mad respect.
I agree with that.
So if we have you guys been watching the Asian scene at all? Actually, I know we've been like hyper focused on NA and so on, and but I haven't looked at the Asian scene very much. But there's got to be something going down there. There's gonna be a team that if we have an international LAN at some point, that's gonna blow people away.
Yeah, I've heard that. I
Definitely.
think Jupiter. I think that's the team. Like they're like the best team. Like in that region. Like I'm very curious to see like what they can do in Valorant. Like and see maybe some very like unique and crazy comps that can honestly like just throw any team off guard. I haven't personally watched any games. I think I watched like one game, but that was a while ago, so I can't really say much about it. But I'm actually very like curious about that region now. I want to start watching their games and see how they play compared to like Europe and NA.
Yeah, I think it was too focused on NA. Honestly, I forgot about the Asia scene, as bad as that sounds. But I feel like that could be like an utter gold mine for like to some unreal rounds that we can like basically steal from them. You know that they might have some like really good ideas. It's like, oh, okay, we can do this and this and that. So yeah, I think really we should start watching them as well and see what they're about.
Yeah, it definitely feels like for me, again, like in CS, it's all about like perfecting what CS is. But in this game, it feels like you can, as you say, come up with lots of interesting ways to win rounds. And it's not about playing objectively correct Valorant. There's like just so many different ways to play the game. So it feels like I think the kind of chasm between Europe and NA and Asia that existed before, there should be way less obstacles now. I actually think, yeah, similarly, they're going to do some crazy stuff that's going to be super exciting. Um, Right. With that said, guys in the chat, this is your time. If you have any questions for the lads, Ec1s and Soulcas, get them in the chat, and we'll start throwing them out there and seeing what lands as we move on to Ask Us Anything segment. Now, I will ask you guys a question whilst we're waiting for some of the questions, or actually, okay, we're in with some questions already. Okay, cool. Sometimes it takes a while to warm people up. Right. Who is the best player in the world? That's an easy one to get us started.
Hard. It's really hard to just say, right, this player is the best player because you could say like Sinatra's probably one of the best with utility usage. You could say probably like um, Zipan, like Ardis. Those players are kind of just like raw aim, very good. It's really hard to just say someone is the best player in the world. It's kind of you've got different like variances to like each player.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's hard to say. I kind of want to say artists, as weird as that sounds, but I don't want to boost his ego even bigger than it is. But like the guy's not lost the best of three, so like I guess you'd have to give it to artists. Like it is crazy to say that. Like my mate who used to play CS is now like one of the best players in the world in Valorant. But apart from that, Wardell obviously really sick. Tens, Sinatra, Scream, all these players are just like all up there. So I think it's hard to say right now who the best is for sure. But all those guys are like really far up there.
We need those international lands.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
dying to play
It's
them.
been interesting to see how the game plays on LAN because obviously it's not been played on LAN before, so like we don't know if it's like Pika's advantage, Holder's advantage, how it plays out. Like we'll just have to find out.
All right, is another easy, quick one. Vandal or Phantom? We didn't actually talk about that change, which is a
Yeah,
pretty big
true.
one. So
Vandal
But
now.
yeah, like I think even before the patch, I tried to start playing with the Vandal a bit more, and then seeing that they increased the fire rate, I'm kind of it's a good change. I think it kind of like levels out the playing field. I don't know. I think I'm leaning towards Vandal, but it's kind of like it depends on the day, honestly. It's a lot of the time. I don't really understand the extra point in damage. Like I don't really know like what that changes because I still feel like you kind of kill someone in the same amount of bullets. I'm not sure exactly why they decided to add an extra point to each bullet in damage, but yeah, I think Vandal.
what about you, Mike? I know you're a diehard Phantom user.
Yeah,
Have you
I'm
been
still on the
convinced?
Phantom, but like I think especially on the attacking side now, I always thought in Ascent the Vandal was really good on attacking side, but I think even more so you're gonna get people buying the Vandal over the Phantom, and maybe it'll switch to like a meta in CS where it's like M4s on CT and AK on T side, but you still have the choice.
Yeah,
Word.
every time I pick up the Phantom now, I think like I buy it just like off habit, and I think, why am I buying this gun? Like the Vandal, I think is like a lot better because like the fire, like the rate of fire is like boosted now. So I think it's like might be quicker kill time than the Phantom at like some ranges. Because a lot of
Yeah.
ranges, the Phantom you need 5 bullets to kill people like in the body, whereas a Vandal even at long range you only need 4. So I think the Vandal like will be the more consistent gun in the future.
I think it's quicker time to kill in over 15 meters or something. 15 meters or greater, I think.
Okay. So the Phantom, I guess, if you have like an idea that you're gonna play close, the Phantom would be better. But like long range and like overall like adaptability, I guess it would be the Vandal.
All right. So Coach Shorty says or asks, what's the most important role of a coach currently coaching a Diamond Plat team?
Ooh.
I would say it's just like really try and bring your team together and get everyone like really find out what each of your players' weaknesses is and try and make that player focus on their weaker. So if something's about communication, make sure they really try and focus on getting the right calls and like saying the call immediately without like moaning or anything, which is something that I kind of like do. I used to have a habit, but now I feel like it's gone a bit better. Like that's what Sliggy pointed out, and it's like for each player, there's something that has like a lot of room for improvement. So I guess finding that in each player and then also bringing everyone together and like having like a good game plan and then I guess even finding like lineups for your agents and like maybe just having a one-on-one with one of your players just to work out stuff how to play certain positions and stuff like that. You have a lot of things that you can actually do as a coach in Valorant.
I think as a coach, one of the main things you focus on not getting emotional and kind of being like the leader, like the boss of the team, if that makes sense. So like people can come to you with problems, like you can like set an example to people of how they should be doing stuff, like Dom said, like force people to try and get into good habits, like bring it up and just overall just try and improve your team in whatever way you can, like deal with the issues in the best way that fits right, because depending on the team, like the people types of people that they are, like different coaches work better, so you just have to like assess which way will work the best for these types of players.
I like it. Well, let's see. We have what Doom Bros asked, why is Sova the best agent in the game? Do you guys think he's the best agent in the game?
I think every agent can be the best agent in the game if he's right. Silver can be so broken. Like the potential is there. Like the arrows, the drone, it's all there. But I don't think anyone's used any agent at the top level yet. So I
I
think
think
it's not got there.
you really have to master Sova and really just like play it a whole like ton. Like you have to have loads of different like lineups for like certain scenarios and also just know when to use each ability at the right time. It can be honestly like the best agent in the game, like especially on bind. Like it's so crucial to have a Sova. Um, I think it can be definitely like one of the best agents if played correctly.
Nice, that's what I like to hear. As speaking from someone who plays mostly Sova. So yeah. Thestral asks, Sliggy talked about wanting to see more Phoenix in Europe. Are you guys trying it out more?
Ooh, maybe. Can't say. Can't give too much away, but I can say, okay, like in Europe, I remember like speaking to like people like in like top teams, and everyone was like memeing Phoenix, like in NA. It's like, oh, NA just puggers like using Phoenix, like they're trying to be like CS. But the more I watch NA, the more I'm saying to Siggy, like, dude, Phoenix is good, man. We got to use Phoenix. Like, is super strong, and I think that makes it one of like the best duelists just from the ult alone and like the flash potential. Because I think everyone in Europe was really bad at flashing with Phoenix. So everyone thought, oh, Phoenix is useless. But like once you get like the distance down and like the muscle memory, the flash is really hard to turn, and I think it makes it like super strong.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot more Phoenixes even in practice against teams and stuff. Like we've seen a huge increase in the number of Phoenixes in the whole like EU scene.
Yeah, I have to say, like, it surprised me too. At first, I thought, oh, he seems like a nice sort of all-round sort of fun duelist to play in like pubs and matchmaking and stuff. But I felt like in a specialized world of like pro Valorant, I wasn't expecting him to be as effective as people have made him. Yeah, North America's done a great job with that. and you guys mentioned Sinatra actually before in that regard. Um, also shout out to Drone. His Drone is nuts. Um, right. Okay. Next question. Ooh, Nasanov asks, what is the best way to approach mid without Sage on splits?
Ooh.
What, as an attacker? Wait,
As
sorry.
defense, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's
it's
defense.
defense,
Yeah.
I
Well,
would
to be
say.
fair, we never even used our Sage on mid, did we? We always have Trav on A with Sage.
Yeah.
So I
So
think. Oh, go on, Dom. Well, Dom's a mid player actually, so I'll let Dom speak.
I think it's just maybe like coordinated plays of retaking mid or just fighting someone in mid, or a lot of the time you kind of just have a rage, you kind of like give it up a bit, but then make it really hard for him to, let's say, get up into the B heaven. So you have like a tripwire in male, and you have like a combo with a nade, and then you've got like different ways you can play with like certain champions, and you don't need Sage in mid. But obviously having a Sage mid can be really helpful, but we never really played it in mid, so it's kind of like a lot of time like mid round, just pop flash, burst through ropes and then through mail, and just really just fight mid and then take control of it.
I like it. It's definitely been I feel like people have over relied on Sage as well, especially in the general consciousness of matchmaking. It seems like people have not really figured out the ways to play it. So I like that. Right. So we have a question about will Link be moving away from Sage after the nerfs? I'm not sure if you guys can answer all the comp questions, but if
I
you
think
want to
it's
ask
kind of
it.
like I feel like it's kind of obvious. Like no one's really gonna play Sage. Like yeah, he's gonna be moving away from Sage because it's kind of, you've got a lot of other agents that you can pick that'll bring more to the table. I feel now because of these nerfs to Sage.
But moving on to what you'll find out soon.
There's been quite a few people that are asking about your thoughts on the 100 Thieves roster and what that could turn out to be. I know there's obviously a couple missing players to complete the roster at this point, but do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Big brains on that team. Like
Yeah, a
I
lot of
wonder
big
what they're gonna
brains.
come up with. Like it's absolutely like brainiac, like fiesta. Like I wonder.
Valorant
I
is a
really want.
brain game as well, so I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
really
really
wonder like
important.
who they're gonna bring, and it's really gonna be like exciting to see Nitro, Steel, and Hiko on the same team. Like I'm really excited to see what's next.
It's kind of it's kind of crazy a world in which Nitro and Steel
Yeah,
and Hiko are playing on a team together
that is kind
in
of weird,
2020. So weird.
but I'm all for it. I want to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I
When
think they'll be like a really good team to watch in the future. They'll have like a lot of good stuff to steal from, basically.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm really curious who they're going to find to play in those last couple slots. Yeah, I'm sure that they'll be announcing something soon, but it's really interesting because those players have so much experience, and I feel like you guys mentioned it before. We don't really know how things will play out on LAN, and there is this degree of LAN experience that could really shake some people, and it's like hard to say like who's going to be great in that environment or who's going to need time to adjust. But you kind of know that with Hiko, Nitro, and Steel that they've got that under control.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There was a world as well actually for a second where we knew that Food and Crashies were leaving T1, and it was the case that Steel was floating around and moving to Valorant, and he's yet to be officially signed. I was wondering if we would get, the return of that old iBuy Power lineup, but
Yeah.
obviously that wasn't going to
A
happen.
bit
But
weird timing as well with all the match fixing stuff going
yeah,
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
indeed. All right, have you seen any questions, Mike, that jump out to you? I've not been paying enough attention
I
as I've been
actually
talking.
had one myself. I was
Oh, go
wondering
for it.
for you guys, because obviously you had like a bit of a rough spell recently in the last tournament. And obviously in CS, after you have some like tough losses, you kind of look back and you're like, is it our setups or where people are positioned, or is it like the strats or defaulting? Obviously in this game though, like your comp matters a lot as well. So do you think it's easier to kind of scapegoat it sometimes on the comp maybe that you were playing, especially if you're like experimenting that match or deviate a little bit from the norm?
Yeah, definitely. It can be like a bit of a scapegoat, and I feel like on a lot of the losses we find out or what is wrong with this comp and what could be fixed with a different one. But for the recent tournament, I mean, we can scapegoat that kind of like we weren't able to practice for like 10 days before, so we came into it like super rusty, like, and it was just really bad performance by us. But that's like our fault. So, like you said, with scapegoating stuff like the comp, yeah, it can be done, but we all know like, okay, if we've lost, we've played bad. We're not gonna lie to ourselves. Like that's not gonna get us anywhere. Like lying to ourselves isn't gonna improve us. So we know if we do take a loss, we'll look at the demo as we always do, and like find, okay, this went wrong, this went wrong. What can we fix? Is it a comp problem? Is it just how we played it problem? Stuff like that. We do like look into a lot to make sure like we're not just gonna just change around comp every single time we play it, just like blame it on the comp that we lost, because eventually we're gonna run out of comps to blame. So
Yeah.
Okay, Doombros asks, what is your favorite strat and your biggest weakness in your team? Asking for a friend, Kappa.
isn't Doombro's like a coach of a beacon? I think maybe that's why he's asking. Uh, I have a there's like some really good breach strats like I really enjoy doing in the beta, so hopefully we'll bring them back soon. So yeah, I think you'll be able to find out what they are eventually.
I'm trying to find out who asked this, but oh yeah, Palestina asks G2 versus TSM, who wins?
Uh, I
Prob-
think G2, G2. I've got to say
yeah,
it, like
I
a bit
guess
of
if
EU biased. Unless
yeah, they're on
Wardell
their
has a
run right now.
yeah, unless
They're on their
Wardell
like good
pops
streak.
off, I think yeah G2 should take it the majority of the times.
RoboJ asks thoughts on each map having its own gimmick, which I know is something Mike has talked about a lot before.
I do like it, and I think I remember I can't say what, so I'll give a little hint. But like, I spoke to the devs and they mentioned about like every map having like a gimmick, stuff like that. And some person like gave out an idea of like this gimmick for like a future map, and they're all really smiling. Like, so I feel like someone guessed the next gimmick. So I don't think I can say, but it's like it's going to be really interesting if that comes true. Like that's it's never been seen before in like an FPS game, so I'm really excited for it. But I feel like it'd be really hard to deal with.
You really wonder like what's next, like what are these gimmicks gonna be? Like honestly, I have no idea. But I like the idea of each map having something really unique to it. So I'm all for it. I wonder what's gonna come next because I think the next map's coming out like soon. It's like each episode, I believe. So yeah, that one should be soon. So we'll see what that's gonna be.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm hoping that I don't know how it's going to look in the future with regards to maps. Obviously, Riot did say initially that they wanted to have loads of agents, but the maps will be pretty much just like we'll have a pool, and that won't really change, and there won't be really any new maps. So I'm hoping that maybe they find a way to kind of maybe cycle in new maps every season, but we'll see how that goes. But I'm super interested to see what the next thing is that they have in store, given all the feedback that they have from the existing maps too. OEOS asks thoughts on the 4 flash composition this patch.
Ooh. I mean, it could work. It takes like a big game plan for it to work, but it definitely could. I think, because I think that's one thing people don't think too much in this game, that the smokes aren't as strong. Like we said before, like touched on it. Like running through smokes is really strong because it's not you don't have the same effects as one CS. So I think if you have enough flashes, you could make it work.
Be a good counter to the current operator meta as well. So it could be a thing having a full flash comp. It'll be hard to play, but if like Echo said, if you've got a set game plan, then it could work.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope that people experiment with some of this stuff, like really abuse. I want to see
Yeah,
people just. I want to see people just really show how broken this extra like pad or rather extra flashes for breach, so that it can get nerfed back into balance again. Because I feel like it's kind of just forced into the meta, like shoehorned in there, crowbarred in there, where you just there is no opportunity. The opportunity cost doesn't exist anymore. You just have to have breach. You're just so bloody good. So um, yeah, it's actually that's another question I was going to ask you like earlier on actually is does it in any way like what are your feelings towards the fact that it feels like the pro scene was already adjusting and adapting to knowing that breach was the answer to the current meta and that was going to happen, but then right sort of step in and they're like, well, we're going to force you to use breach prematurely because you can't not now because he's so good. Is that going to worry you guys at all in the future, or you just don't just rolling with the punches on that kind of stuff?
it could be worrying, but it depends what they do exactly. But I mean, it's kind of like they'll probably fed up with everyone talking about the operators. Like no, it's not a problem. Guys, shut up. Take 3 flashes. Be happy with it. You know. But I think, yeah, it's we'll see what they do with like responses to the community and how they have their own like take on the meta, and we'll see like how they come together to like, I guess you could say, meet an agreement.
I think Riot could be experimenting here with giving Breach more flashes and seeing like how it plays off with the operator. So say now if teams have like a lot of flashes and it's still a big problem, then maybe they look more towards the operator or look more to like maybe adding Brimstone with 4 smokes or Omen with 7 smokes, something like this, like something crazy like that. But yeah, I think this is kind of trying to see like different ways of how to counter it, and I imagine this is the way that they think it should be played.
I'm just gonna throw this in there, but I'm just praying they add a scope sound to the operator. I feel
Yeah.
like it's needed at least. Like if you're not gonna change anything to the like movement speed, scope speed, anything like that, at least add like a scope sound so you can, so like players with the operator can't just go anywhere they want as they please and surprise opponents, because in this game still like there's a lack of utility compared to CS:GO, and they still have like a scope sound. So if you hear someone around the corner, right, there's an operator here, you have to play a bit differently. I just think having no scope sounds a bit, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of it. I really feel like they need to add in a scope sound, and I guess it'll be like it'll be in a good state. The operator, I feel.
Yeah, totally. I think that's actually like a consensus on the show. Within pretty much everyone thinks that that's the perfect way to go. So I completely agree with you there. We'll throw in another couple questions real quick, and then we'll close the show. Um, so DNS Killers FN asks how to counter Cypher and Killjoy and Sova on defense.
That's a lot. There's free agents that you need to counter. With Cypher, I think Cypher the big counter is Jet, like a Jet dash, like just dashing through the traps causes Cypher like a lot of problems, and it like creates a lot of space. So say if Cypher's got a cage and got a trap, the Jet dashes through, it gets rid of the tripwire, and it also tells your team, hey, we can go through this cage, like it's fine. So I think that's like the biggest counter to that. Silver, I'm not really sure. What do you think, Dom?
Um, I guess to counter Sova is like, if you probably know where the Sova does their drone, so like on bind, if they always drone in lamps, you can, if you have a brimstone or even just like an exit, you can burst off that and you know he's like stuck in there. You can have like a molly that lands on the exit of lamps, so you know he's gonna be stuck in there. So you can do like a few places. It's really hard to like actively like counter um a Sova, but I feel like for Killjoy, um, a way to counter her is to have like a Raze or a Sova using their shock darts or satchels to break her trips and all her like little like things that she can use. I think they're the biggest counters to Killjoy. Actually, even with Sova, you use your ultimate and you can break Killjoy's ult. So as soon as Killjoy puts down an ult, you get Sova to use your ult, and it can just negate Killjoy's ultimate, which is like, I think, a direct counter.
I like it. Well, well, actually, I don't like it because I play Sova. So, um, so the last question. Oh shit, who was this from? All right, Sid021 asks, who is the most comedy person in Team Liquid? Do you have a Joker on the team?
I don't know.
Trav.
It's like
Travel
Scream,
Scream.
Travel J, or Cryptic. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I feel like everyone's just a huge troll. Like it's just like we're probably gonna like make some content soon. You'll just realize this team's like everyone's like can be like a troll as well, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, I'd definitely say like either Scream, Cryptics, or Link.
Yeah, we've got like a
Then
definitely like a funny team. I guess you'd say it's not boring. Like everyone's cracking jokes. You know, we're all having a good time, even when we're practicing. Like in officials as well, keeps the mood up. Like someone just cracks a joke and like it leaves like a lot of the pressure as well. Like you don't feel, oh, this is really important match versus G2. Then Trav just starts making a joke or something, and everyone's like relaxes a lot more. So it helps in that way as well.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. That's a huge thing. People don't talk about the chemistry aspects as much as maybe, or like it's harder to quantify. But yeah, that's great to hear, man. Right. So that thank you guys for joining us. That's the end of the show for today. It's been a pleasure to have you both on.
Thanks for having us, man. It's been a great time.
appreciate it.
Of course, I will have to get Sliggy back on as well. I don't think he was actually tuned in today, so I have to ask him what's up with that.
He's probably asleep, isn't he?
Probably asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing line
Tired
ups
from
at
doing all
9
the
a.m. in the
lineups.
morning. Yeah.
He's living it. He's living the life of the coach. It's good to see. All right. Well, to everybody out there in the chat, of course, we'll be live on Wednesday with our next demo review. So make sure to check that out. Special thanks as well to Team Liquid who sent us a bunch of awesome threads to wear on the show. You can see I'm wearing the team. This kind of what color is this? It's like neon yellow. I'm not even sure.
Neon, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. There we go. And Mike is wearing. I can't actually see his cam right now.
Got
This
the
is
blue long sleeve or whatever.
nice. Yeah, sexy stuff. So thanks to Team Liquid to sending that to us. And yeah, I don't think there's too much else to go through here at the end of the show today. Of course, make sure you jump into the Discord if that's not something you're already, a part of. It's a great place to find other people to play with, like-minded individuals. There's lots of, if ever you want to watch the matches with people, we have a match discussion channel. We also have a way for you to, basically attach your rank and the agents you like to play, and you can basically find other people who are around the rank that you are. So if you want to kind of try to build a composition on the fly or find people to play some matchmaking with, you can do that in the Discord as well. So, with that said, I don't think there's anything else to go through for the end of today's show. So, thanks very much for watching. The VOD will be up on YouTube tomorrow, and we will see you on Wednesday. Cheers, guys.